Let me tell you something about Capricorn that most people will never understand. You were not born to be controlled. You were not designed to bend. You were not created to follow anyone who has not earned the right to lead you. And no matter how many people tried to break you, manipulate you, pressure you, guilt you, or force you into a box you did not fit in, you are still standing. And do you know why? Because God saw them try to break you, and He said, "Not this one." Capricorn, you have been through things that would have destroyed other people. You have carried weight that was never yours to carry. You have been betrayed by people you trusted. You have been underestimated by people who should have seen your value. You have been pressured to compromise, to shrink, to perform, to explain yourself to people who were never going to understand you anyway. And through it all, you stayed true to yourself. Not because it was easy, not because you always felt strong, but because something inside you, something deeper than emotion, deeper than fear, deeper than exhaustion, would not let you break. That something is Saturn, your ruling planet. The cosmic force that governs discipline, structure, boundaries, and divine timing. Saturn does not raise soft souls. Saturn does not train people to be easily swayed. Saturn builds mountains. And mountains do not move for storms. You are that mountain, Capricorn. Now, before we go any deeper, I need you to do two things for me right now. First, drop your birth date in the comments. Day, month, year. Second, tell me what country you were born in. I'm tracking something massive across Capricorn souls worldwide, and your birth information tells me exactly where you are in your divine timeline and what spiritual energy you were born under. This is not random. This is not casual. Do it now before we continue, because what I am about to reveal is going to validate everything you have been through, everything you have survived, and everything they tried to do to you that did not work. This is not just another astrology video. This is not surface-level personality trait entertainment. This is a message about divine protection. This is about spiritual architecture. This is about what happens when the universe builds a soul so strong, so grounded, so clear in its purpose, that no human force on earth can knock it off course. And today, we're going to walk through 13 reasons why nobody can control you. Not your family, not your partner, not your friends, not your boss, not society, not culture. Not even the people who think they know you better than you know yourself. Because the truth is, God saw them try to break you, and every single time, He covered you. Every attack failed, every trap closed without catching you. Every scheme fell apart before it could take root. Not because you were lucky, but because you are protected. By the time this message ends, you will understand why you have always felt different, why you have always moved differently, why pressure does not work on you the way it works on others, and why, no matter how hard people try to control your life, your choices, your energy, they will always fail. So if you are ready to hear the truth,
If you are ready to be validated, if you are ready to finally understand the divine design behind your strength, then stay with me, because we are about to go deep. But first, if you have not already, subscribe to Blessed Zodiac right now. Turn on notifications, because this is not just a channel. This is a sanctuary for truth. This is where Capricorns come to be seen, to be understood, to be reminded of who they really are when the world tries to tell them otherwise. Hit that like button if you are ready to feel your power again. And remember, drop your birth date and birth country in the comments right now. Do not skip this step. Your participation activates the energy of this message in your life. Let's begin. Reason 1. God gave them a spine others can't bend. The first reason nobody can control a Capricorn is simple but profound.
God gave you a spine that others cannot bend. This is not metaphorical. This is spiritual architecture. When Saturn governs your sun sign, you are born with an internal structure that most people do not have. While others are built with flexibility that allows them to sway with every opinion, every trend, every emotional gust of wind, you were built with a backbone made of something stronger. Divine integrity. Let me explain what this means. Integrity is not just about being honest. Integrity is about being whole, complete, structurally sound. When a building has integrity, it can withstand earthquakes. When a person has integrity, they can withstand pressure from every direction and still stand firm. Capricorn, you do not bend because you were not designed to. Not out of stubbornness, not out of pride,
but out of alignment with something deeper than human opinion. You answer to a higher authority, and that higher authority is not negotiable. It is not influenced by guilt trips. It is not moved by manipulation. It is not swayed by tears, threats, or tantrums. Because your spine, the core structure of who you are, was built by God Himself to hold you upright when everything around you is trying to knock you down. Think about the people who have tried to control you throughout your life. Maybe it was a parent who wanted you to live the life they never had. Maybe it was a partner who wanted you to shrink so they could feel bigger. Maybe it was a friend who needed you to stay small so they did not have to confront their own lack of growth. Maybe it was a boss who tried to intimidate you into silence. Maybe it was society telling you to follow the rules, fit in, stop questioning, stop standing out. And every single time, something inside you said no. Not loudly, not dramatically, but firmly, unshakably, completely. That is your spine. That is Saturn holding you in place. That is God refusing to let you compromise the foundation He built in you. Now, this does not mean you are inflexible. Capricorns are actually incredibly adaptable when it comes to strategy. You will change your approach. You will adjust your methods. You will pivot when the path requires it. But you will not change your core. You will not betray your values. You will not sacrifice your integrity for comfort, for approval, for peace. Because deep down, you know that a life lived without integrity is not a life worth living. It is just existence. And Capricorns are not here to exist. They are here to build, to create, to leave something behind that matters. That spine you carry, it is not just for you. It is for everyone who is watching. It is for the people who need to see what it looks like to stand firm. It is for the next generation who needs to know that you do not have to bend to be loved. You do not have to break to be accepted. You do not have to compromise to be valued. You are teaching something by simply being who you are. You are showing people what strength looks like when it is not loud, what power looks like when it is not performative, what integrity looks like when it is lived, not preached. And here is what people do not understand about that spine. It was not built overnight. It was forged through pressure, through pain, through every moment you wanted to give up, but did not. Through every betrayal that could have made you cynical, but instead made you discerning. Through every loss that could have broken you, but instead taught you what truly matters. Saturn does not give gifts. Saturn gives tests. And every test you pass adds another layer of strength to that spine. Every boundary you hold adds another vertebra. Every time you say no when it would have been easier to say yes, you are building the kind of structure that cannot be dismantled by human hands.
This is why people feel intimidated by you, even when you are not trying to intimidate anyone. It is not your words. It is not your presence. It is the energy of someone who cannot be moved. And in a world full of people who change their values based on who is in the room, that kind of stability is rare.
That kind of clarity is powerful. That kind of integrity is untouchable.
But let me be very clear about something. This spine, this strength, this refusal to bend, it does not make you cold. It does not make you heartless. It does not make you incapable of love or connection or vulnerability. It makes you safe. Safe for yourself. Safe for the people who truly deserve access to you. Safe for the mission God gave you. Because if you bent every time someone pressured you, if you broke every time someone tested you, if you compromised every time someone demanded it, you would not be building anything. You would just be surviving, reacting, performing, pretending. And Capricorn, you were not born to pretend. You were born to build empires, to create legacies, to leave the world better than you found it.
And none of that is possible if you do not have a spine strong enough to hold the vision when everyone else is telling you to let it go. So when people say you are stubborn, what they really mean is you cannot be manipulated. When they say you are cold, what they really mean is you do not perform emotion on demand. When they say you are difficult, what they really mean is you have standards they are not willing to meet. And that is not your problem. That is theirs. Because God did not give you that spine so you could make other people comfortable. He gave you that spine so you could stand when everything around you is falling. So you could hold the line when everyone else is crossing it. So you could be the one person in the room who is not for sale. That spine is your inheritance, your divine download, your spiritual DNA. And no matter how many people try to break it, bend it, or buy it,
They will fail. Because what God built, man cannot destroy. Reason 2. They answer to heaven's voice, not human pressure. The second reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. You answer to heaven's voice, not human pressure. Let me explain what I mean by this because it is one of the most misunderstood aspects of the Capricorn soul. People look at you and think you are cold. They think you do not care. They think you are emotionless, robotic, incapable of empathy. But that could not be further from the truth. You care deeply, sometimes too deeply. You feel everything, Capricorn, every disappointment, every betrayal, every moment of being unseen, unappreciated, taken for granted. You feel it all. But here is the difference between you and most people.
you do not let those feelings dictate your decisions. You filter everything through a higher frequency, through logic, through divine alignment, through what you know to be true, not just what you feel in the moment. This is what people mean when they say Capricorns are practical. But it is deeper than that. It is spiritual. Because the voice you are listening to, the compass you are following, it is not coming from your ego. It is not coming from your wounds. It is not coming from your fear or your anger or your need for validation. It is coming from God. Now, I know some of you might not use that language. You might call it intuition. You might call it inner knowing. You might call it alignment with your higher self. But whatever name you give it, the truth is the same. There is a voice inside you that knows what is right. And that voice does not waver. That voice does not change based on who is in the room. That voice does not compromise based on how loud someone else is being. That voice is steady, clear, unshakable. And when someone tries to pressure you into doing something that goes against that voice, you cannot do it, even if you want to, even if it would make things easier, even if it would make people happy. You physically, emotionally, spiritually cannot betray that inner compass. This is why emotional manipulation does not work on you. Guilt trips, silent treatments, crying, yelling, threats, ultimatums. None of it lands the way manipulators expect it to. Because while they are performing, you are listening, not to them, to that voice. And that voice is asking one simple question. Is this aligned with my truth? If the answer is no,
then no amount of pressure will change your course. You might pause. You might reflect. You might even feel bad about disappointing someone. But you will not move. Because Capricorns understand something most people do not. Feelings are temporary. Alignment is eternal. You can feel guilty and still say no. You can feel sad and still walk away. You can feel pressure and still stand firm. Because your decisions are not based on how you feel in the moment. They are based on what you know to be true in your soul. This is divine wisdom. This is what it means to be led by the Spirit, not by the flesh. And it makes you almost impossible to control. Let me give you an example. Someone in your life wants you to do something. Maybe they want you to lend them money you do not have. Maybe they want you to lie for them. Maybe they want you to stay in a situation that is draining your soul. Maybe they want you to give up on a dream because it makes them uncomfortable. And they come at you with every tactic in the book. They cry. They remind you of everything they have done for you. They make you feel selfish. They tell you that if you really cared, you would do this one thing. And here is what happens inside you. You feel it. The guilt, the discomfort, the pull to just say yes and make it all go away. But then that voice speaks, and it says, "This is not aligned. This is not your responsibility. This is not your burden to carry." And suddenly the pressure loses its power, because you realize that making them comfortable would require you to betray yourself. And that is a price you are not willing to pay. So you say no, calmly, kindly, but firmly. And they do not understand. They call you cold. They call you selfish. They say you have changed. They say you do not care. But you know the truth. You care so much that you refuse to enable dysfunction. You care so much that you will not participate in something that harms either of you in the long run. You care so much that you are willing to be misunderstood in order to stay in integrity. This is the Capricorn way. And it is not easy. In fact, it is one of the hardest paths to walk. Because you are constantly navigating a world that rewards people-pleasing, that celebrates emotional reactivity, that mistakes loudness for strength. But you were not built for that world. You were built for a higher kingdom. A kingdom where truth matters more than comfort, where integrity matters more than popularity, where alignment with God matters more than alignment with culture. This is why Capricorns often feel like outsiders, because you are operating on a different frequency. You are answering to a different authority, and most people cannot understand that. They think you are being difficult when you are actually being discerning. They think you are being stubborn when you are actually being obedient to something they cannot see. And here is the beautiful part. The more you honor that voice, the stronger it gets. The more you follow that compass, the clearer the path becomes. The more you choose alignment over approval, the more unshakable you become. Because every time you say no to human pressure, you are saying yes to divine guidance. Every time you refuse to bend, you are building spiritual muscle. Every time you stand firm, you are proving to yourself and to God that you can be trusted with more. And Capricorn, You are being trusted with so much. You are being trusted to hold the line when everyone else is crossing it. You are being trusted to speak truth when everyone else is lying. You are being trusted to build something real when everyone else is building facades. That is not a small assignment. That is a sacred one. So, when people try to control you, when they try to guilt you, pressure you, manipulate you, remember this: you do not answer to them. You answer to heaven. And heaven is not impressed by tears. Heaven is not moved by tantrums. Heaven is not fooled by performance. Heaven is watching for one thing: obedience to your divine assignment. And every time you choose that assignment over human approval,
You are passing a test that most people will never even take.
Reason 3. They were born with ancient wisdom in their soul. The third reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this: you were born with ancient wisdom in your soul. This is not a metaphor. This is astrology. This is mythology. This is spiritual truth that has been recognized for thousands of years. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the planet of time, karma, and divine order. And Saturn does not create young souls. Saturn creates old souls, souls that have been here before, souls that carry the weight of lifetimes, souls that understand things they were never taught in this lifetime because they learned them in others. If you are a Capricorn, you know exactly what I am talking about, because you have felt it your entire life. You have always felt older than your age.
Even as a child, you carried yourself differently. While other kids were playing, you were observing. While other kids were carefree, you were aware. Aware of the tension in the room, aware of the financial stress your parents were hiding, aware that life was not a game. It was a responsibility. And you took that responsibility seriously, maybe too seriously. You were the kid who did not cry when things got hard, the kid who took care of siblings when parents were overwhelmed, the kid who stayed calm in chaos, the kid who grew up too fast because someone had to be the adult, and nobody asked you to do that. You just did it, because something inside you knew it was your role, your assignment, your weight to carry. That is Saturn. That is the ancient soul. That is the wisdom you were born with that makes you impossible to manipulate. Because here is what people do not understand. You have seen all of this before. Not in this lifetime, but in the lifetimes before. You have been betrayed before. You have been manipulated before. You have been used, discarded, underestimated, and overlooked before. And you remember. Not consciously, not with names and faces, but in your soul, in your instincts, in the way you can smell dishonesty before it fully reveals itself, in the way you can sense manipulation before the trap is set, in the way you know when someone is lying, even when their words sound convincing. This is ancient wisdom. This is pattern recognition that spans lifetimes, and it makes you almost impossible to fool. People think they can play games with you. They think they can charm you, flatter you, manipulate you into trusting them. But you are 3 steps ahead, not because you are trying to be, but because you have played this game before. You know how it ends, and you are not interested in repeating the same lesson. This is why Capricorns are so slow to trust, not because you are cold, not because you are cynical, but because you are wise. You know that trust is not given freely. It is earned, over time, through consistency, through action, not words. And when people try to rush that process, when they try to force intimacy before it is ready, when they try to guilt you into opening up faster than your soul feels safe, you shut down, not out of fear, out of wisdom.
Because you know what happens when you open the gates too soon. You know what happens when you let people in before they have proven themselves. You know what it costs. And you are not willing to pay that price again.
This ancient wisdom also shows up in how you move through the world. You do not follow trends. You do not jump on bandwagons. You do not get swept up in collective hysteria. Because you've seen trends come and go. You've seen empires rise and fall. You have seen what lasts and what fades. And you are only interested in what lasts. This makes you immune to peer pressure, to social pressure, to cultural pressure. Because while everyone else is chasing what is hot right now, you are building what will still be standing 100 years from now. This is the Capricorn vision, the long view, the eternal perspective. And it comes from a soul that has lived long enough, across enough lifetimes, to know what truly matters. You do not care about being popular. You care about being respected. You do not care about being liked. You care about being trusted. You do not care about being in the spotlight. You care about building something that outlives you. And that ancient wisdom, it protects you. It keeps you grounded when everyone else is spiraling. It keeps you focused when everyone else is distracted. It keeps you building when everyone else is performing. People try to control you by making you doubt yourself, by telling you that you think too much, that you are too serious, that you need to lighten up, go with the flow, stop being so rigid. But you do not doubt yourself, because you know who you are. You know what you carry. You know that the seriousness they criticize is actually a sacred responsibility, and you are not going to abandon that responsibility just to make someone else comfortable. This is why Saturn children, Capricorn souls, often feel misunderstood. Because the world celebrates youth. The world celebrates spontaneity. The world celebrates living in the moment without thought for tomorrow. But you cannot do that. Not because you do not want to, but because you are carrying something heavier. You are building something bigger. You are answering to something older. And that ancient wisdom, it will not let you settle. It will not let you compromise. It will not let you betray the truth you have carried across lifetimes, just to fit in for a moment. So when people try to pressure you, manipulate you, control you, they are not just dealing with the version of you in this lifetime. They are dealing with all the versions of you across all lifetimes. All the lessons learned, all the patterns recognized, all the wisdom accumulated. And that, Capricorn, is an opponent they cannot defeat. Because you are not fighting with human weapons. You are fighting with ancient knowledge. And ancient knowledge always wins in the end. Reason 4. Their mission is written in the stars, not your opinion. The fourth reason nobody can control a Capricorn is because your mission is written in the stars, not in someone else's opinion. Let me be very clear about something. Capricorns are not here to live small lives. You are not here to play it safe. You are not here to make everyone comfortable. You are here to build something that matters, something that lasts, something that changes the trajectory of your lineage, your community, maybe even the world. That mission is not optional. It is not a hobby. It is not something you can put on hold because someone else needs you to focus on them right now. It is your assignment from God, and it is non-negotiable.
This is what people do not understand about Capricorns. They think you are cold because you do not drop everything to cater to every emotional crisis. They think you are selfish because you protect your time, your energy, your focus. They think you do not care because you do not let their drama derail your progress. But the truth is, you care so much that you refuse to abandon the mission you were given. Because you know that mission is not just about you. It is about everyone who is depending on the thing you are building. It is about the future that will not exist if you stop now. It is about the legacy that will die if you let distraction win. Capricorns are mission-driven. You always have been. Even when you were young, even when you did not have the language for it.
You felt it. That pull toward something bigger. That sense that you were supposed to do something important. That knowing that your life was not just about surviving, it was about building. And that mission, it shapes every decision you make. When someone asks you to compromise your values, you run it through the filter of the mission. Does this align? Does this support where I am going? Does this honor what I am building? If the answer is no, then the answer is no. Even if it costs you, even if people are disappointed, even if it would be easier to just say yes. Because you know something most people do not. Every time you betray your mission for someone else's comfort, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you let distraction pull you off course, you delay the destiny you were born to fulfill. Every time you shrink to fit someone else's expectations, you dishonor the divine assignment you were given. And you would rather be alone than live a life that betrays your purpose. This is why control does not work on Capricorns. Because control requires you to prioritize someone else's agenda over your own. And Capricorns will not do that. Not because they are selfish, but because they know their agenda is not their own. It is God's. Let me give you an example. Someone in your life wants more of your time, more of your attention, more of your energy. And they are not wrong for wanting that. Relationships require time. Connection requires presence. Love requires investment. But here is where it gets complicated. If giving them what they want requires you to sacrifice the mission, you cannot do it. You cannot stop building. You cannot abandon the goal. You cannot let the work you have been called to do sit unfinished just because someone needs you to be more available right now. And when you say no, they do not understand. They take it personally. They think it means you do not love them. They think it means they do not matter. But that is not true. It just means that you love them enough to not become a person who abandons their calling. Because a Capricorn who betrays their mission becomes a shell of themselves, resentful, bitter, lost, and nobody benefits from that. So you hold the line. You protect the mission. You say no when you need to say no. And you trust that the people who are meant to be in your life will understand. And the people who do not understand were never meant to stay. This is hard. Let me be clear. This is one of the hardest parts of being a Capricorn. Because the world tells you that relationships should come first, that love is more important than work, that if you really cared, you would make time. But Capricorns know something deeper. Real love does not ask you to abandon yourself. Real love does not demand that you betray your calling. Real love supports the mission because it understands that the mission is part of who you are. And if someone cannot love you while you are building, then they cannot love the real you. They can only love a version of you that does not threaten their need for control. And you are not here to be that version. You are here to be the builder, the architect, the one who sees the blueprint and refuses to stop until it is complete. This mission-driven energy is also why Capricorns do not let emotions cloud their decisions. Not because you do not feel, but because you know that feelings are temporary. The mission is eternal. You can feel sad and still keep building. You can feel hurt and still show up. You can feel exhausted and still take the next step. Because the mission does not stop when you are tired. The mission does not pause when you are in pain. The mission keeps calling, and you keep answering. This is Saturn's gift.
the ability to separate emotion from action, the ability to keep moving even when you do not feel like it, the ability to stay disciplined when everyone else is falling apart. And people try to use this against you. They call you a workaholic. They say you do not know how to relax.
They say you are missing out on life because you are always focused on the next goal. But you know the truth. You are not missing out on life. You are building a life worth living. You are creating something that will matter long after you are gone. You are honoring the assignment you were given before you were even born. And no amount of pressure, guilt, or manipulation will make you abandon that. Because your mission is written in the stars. And stars do not move for human opinion. Reason 5. They don't need your validation. God already approved them. The fifth reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. You do not need human validation because God already approved you. This might be the single most powerful defense mechanism a Capricorn has. And it is not a defense mechanism in the traditional sense. It is not armor. It is not a wall. It is simply the truth of who you are. Capricorns do not crave approval. Not because you do not want to be appreciated, not because you do not want to be seen, but because your worth is not determined by whether or not other people recognize it. Let me say that again because this is critical. Your worth is not determined by recognition. Most people spend their entire lives performing for an invisible audience, posting, sharing, broadcasting every achievement, every milestone, every moment of their life, hoping that if they get enough likes, enough comments, enough validation from strangers, it will finally mean something. But you, Capricorn, you see right through that game. Because you know something they do not. External validation is a drug. And like all drugs, the more you take it, the more you need it. Until you cannot function without it. Until your entire sense of self is dependent on what other people think. And you refuse to live like that. Not because you are above it, but because you have tasted the alternative. You have experienced what it feels like to do something excellent in complete silence. To build something meaningful with no audience. To accomplish something significant with no applause. And you discovered that it still mattered. It still counted. It still changed you, even though nobody was watching. That is when you learned the truth. That your value does not come from being seen. It comes from being aligned with your purpose, with your integrity, with God. And once you learned that, you became uncontrollable. Because the primary way people control others is through the promise or withdrawal of approval. Do what I want, and I will praise you. Disobey me, and I will withhold love, attention, validation. But that does not work on you, because you are not addicted to their praise. You do not crumble without their approval. You do not mold yourself into whatever shape they need you to be just to earn their affection. You know who you are, and that knowing is not negotiable. Now, let me be very clear. This does not mean you do not appreciate when people see you, when people recognize your work, when people acknowledge the sacrifices you have made, the discipline you have maintained, the excellence you have delivered. You do appreciate it, deeply, more than you probably show. But you do not need it. And there is a massive difference between appreciation and need. You appreciate compliments, but you do not need them to keep going. You appreciate recognition, but you do not need it to validate that your work matters. You appreciate being seen, but you do not need visibility to know that you are valuable. Because your approval came from a higher source. It came before you were born. It came when Saturn chose your soul to carry this assignment. It came when God looked at the blueprint of your life and said, "This one can handle it."
That approval, Capricorn, is the only approval that matters, and you already have it. This makes you immune to one of the most common manipulation tactics in the world: flattery, love bombing, excessive praise designed to soften you up so you will say yes to something you should say no to. People try this with Capricorns all the time. They shower you with compliments. They tell you how amazing you are, how special, how talented, how irreplaceable. And you listen. You are polite. You even say thank you. But inside you are analyzing. You are asking, why are they saying this? What do they want? What is the agenda behind this praise? Because you have learned that people do not give excessive compliments for free. They give them as payment in advance for something they are about to ask for, or as manipulation to lower your defenses so they can take something from you. And you see it coming, every time. So when the ask comes, when they finally reveal what they really want, you are not caught off guard. You are not softened. You are not more likely to say yes just because they buttered you up first. You evaluate the request on its own merit. Does it align with your values? Does it serve your mission? Does it honor your boundaries? If yes, you might consider it. If no, the answer is no, no matter how much they praised you first. This drives manipulators crazy, because praise is supposed to work. It works on most people. Most people are so starved for validation that they will compromise their boundaries, their values, their peace, just to keep the compliments coming. But not you. Because you learned a long time ago that praise from people who do not know you is meaningless. Praise from people who have an agenda is manipulation. And even praise from people who genuinely see you, while beautiful and appreciated, is not the foundation of your worth. God is the foundation of your worth, and He already said yes to you. This is also why Capricorns do not perform. You do not need to be the loudest in the room. You do not need to be the most charismatic. You do not need to be the most visible. You know that real power is quiet. Real excellence speaks for itself. Real value does not need to be advertised. So you let your work do the talking. You let your results speak. You let your character reveal itself over time to the people who are paying attention. And the people who are not paying attention, you are not concerned with them, because their opinion was never the goal. This quiet confidence, this lack of need for external validation, it makes you one of the most powerful people in any room. Because you cannot be bought with praise. You cannot be manipulated with flattery. And you cannot be controlled with the promise of recognition. You are already recognized by the only one who matters. And that makes you free. Free to say no. Free to walk away. Free to prioritize your peace over someone else's approval. Free to be misunderstood without needing to explain yourself. Free to build in silence without needing to broadcast every step. This is the Capricorn's superpower. Internal validation. Divine approval. Unshakable self-worth that is not dependent on whether or not the world is clapping. And when you operate from that place, when you live from that center, you become impossible to control. Because control requires leverage. And people who do not need your approval cannot be leveraged. So let them call you cold. Let them say you do not care what people think. Let them accuse you of being too independent, too self-sufficient, too sure of yourself. Because the truth is, you do care. You care deeply. You just do not care more about their opinion than you care about your alignment with God. And that, Capricorn, is exactly where you are supposed to be. Before we go any further, I need to see the Capricorn army activating in the comments right now. If you are feeling this message, if you are recognizing yourself in these words, if you are finally feeling seen and understood, I need you to do 3 things. First, type this exact phrase in the comments. I am Capricorn. God saw them try to break me. I am still standing. This is not just a comment. This is a declaration. This is you speaking your truth into existence. This is you activating the energy of divine protection over your life. Second, drop your birth date and the country you were born in. Day, month, year, and country. I am tracking a massive spiritual shift across Capricorn souls worldwide, and your information tells me exactly where you are in your cosmic timeline. Third, if you have not already subscribed to Blessed Zodiac, do it right now. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, because this is not just a channel. This is a sanctuary. This is where Capricorns come to be validated, understood, and reminded of who they really are when the world tries to convince them otherwise. Do not skip this step. Your participation matters. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Now let's continue. Because we are only halfway through the 13 reasons why nobody can control a Capricorn. And trust me, the next reasons are going to hit even deeper. Let's keep going. Reason 6. They trust what people do, not what they promise. The 6th reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. You trust actions, not promises. This is one of the fastest ways to lose access to a Capricorn. By talking without backing it up. By making grand speeches without following through. By promising change without producing evidence. Capricorns are not impressed by words. They are not moved by potential. They are not swayed by tears, apologies, or declarations of intent. They watch. They wait. And they evaluate based on one thing only: consistency. Let me tell you why this matters. Most people operate in the realm of emotion. They say things because they feel them in the moment. They make promises because they genuinely believe in that moment that they will follow through. They declare change because, in that moment, they want to be different. But Capricorns know something that most people have not learned yet. Emotion is temporary. Intention is not action. And words without follow-through are just noise. So when someone comes to a Capricorn with a heartfelt apology, with tears streaming down their face, with promises that this time will be different, the Capricorn does not reject them. But they do not believe them either. Not yet. Because belief is not given freely. Belief is earned. Through time, through consistency, through showing up again and again with action that matches the words. This is why Capricorns are so slow to forgive manipulative behavior. Not because they hold grudges, but because they know that saying sorry is easy. Changing the behavior is hard. And until the behavior changes, the apology is meaningless. People mistake this for coldness. They think Capricorns are unforgiving. They think you do not believe in second chances. But that is not true. You believe in second chances. You just do not believe in 10th chances disguised as second chances. You have already seen this movie. You already know how it ends. Someone hurts you. They apologize. You give them another chance. They do it again. They apologize again. The cycle continues. And every time you are supposed to act like this is the first time, like you do not see the pattern, like you do not have a memory. But you do have a memory. And that memory is detailed, precise, unforgiving in its accuracy. You remember the last time they said they would change. You remember the promises they made 3 months ago. You remember the tears, the speeches, the declarations. And you remember that nothing actually changed. So when they come to you again with the same apology, the same promises, the same performance, you do not react. You do not explode. You do not lecture them on their inconsistency. You just quietly close the door. A little more. A little tighter.
Until eventually the door is fully shut, and no amount of knocking will open it again. This is not cruelty. This is self-preservation. This is wisdom. This is you honoring the lesson that life has taught you over and over again. That people do not change because they promise to. They change because they are committed to. And commitment shows up in action, not in words. Now, let me be very clear about something. This does not mean Capricorns are cynical. It does not mean you have given up on humanity. It does not mean you do not believe people can change. You absolutely believe people can change. You have changed. You have evolved. You have done the work on yourself. You know transformation is possible. But you also know it is rare, because transformation requires something most people are not willing to give: time, effort, humility, accountability, consistency. Most people want transformation to happen overnight. They want to say sorry and have everything go back to normal. They want to declare change and be trusted immediately. But Capricorns do not work like that. You do not operate on potential. You operate on proof. And proof takes time. This is why Capricorns are some of the hardest people to regain trust with once it has been broken. Not because you are unforgiving, but because you understand the weight of trust. You know how rare it is. You know how costly it is to give someone access to your inner world, your vulnerabilities, your heart. And you are not going to hand that access back to someone just because they feel bad about breaking it the first time. They have to earn it, day by day, choice by choice, action by action. And most people are not willing to do that work. They want instant forgiveness, instant restoration, instant access. But instant anything is not built to last. And Capricorns are only interested in what lasts. This principle also shows up in how Capricorns evaluate romantic relationships. You do not fall in love with words. You fall in love with consistency. Someone can tell you they love you every single day. They can text you good morning. They can post about you on social media. They can say all the right things. But if their actions do not match, if they are inconsistent, if they say one thing and do another, you are not impressed. In fact, you are suspicious. Because you know that real love is not performed. Real love is demonstrated, day after day, in the small things, in the follow-through, in the choices that nobody sees. Real love shows up. Real love keeps its word. Real love does not need to announce itself because it is too busy proving itself. And Capricorns, you will wait as long as it takes to find that. Because you would rather be alone than be with someone whose words you cannot trust. This is also why Capricorns are so reliable, because you hold yourself to the same standard you hold others. If you say you are going to do something, you do it. If you make a promise, you keep it. If you commit, you follow through. Even when it is hard. Even when you do not feel like it. Even when nobody would blame you for backing out. Because your word is your bond. And you know that once you break your word, once you prove that your promises are negotiable, you lose something you can never fully get back. Integrity. And integrity, to a Capricorn, is more valuable than comfort, more valuable than convenience, more valuable than approval. So you keep your word, and you expect others to keep theirs. And when they do not, when their actions contradict their promises, you do not argue. You do not try to convince them to change.
You just quietly adjust your expectations, and your boundaries, and your level of access. Because you have learned the most important lesson of all. People tell you who they are through their actions, and it is your job to believe them, not their words, their actions. And once you see the truth, once the pattern is clear, you cannot unsee it. You cannot unhear it. You cannot unknow it. So you make a choice. You either accept the truth and adjust accordingly, or you stay and suffer the consequences of ignoring what you already know. And Capricorns, you do not ignore what you know, ever. So when someone tries to control you with empty promises, with declarations of change, with tearful apologies that are not backed by changed behavior, you are unmoved. Not because you do not care, but because you care too much to participate in delusion. You care enough to demand better, for yourself, and ironically, for them too. Because the greatest gift you can give someone is the refusal to enable their dysfunction. The refusal to pretend their words matter when their actions say otherwise. That is love. Hard love, uncomfortable love, but real love. And Capricorns, you are masters of real love, because you love people enough to hold them accountable, to expect excellence, to refuse to settle for potential when you deserve proof. That is why nobody can control you with promises, because promises are just words, and words without action are just noise. And Capricorns do not listen to noise. You listen to evidence. Reason 7. They have divine blueprints you can't see. The seventh reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. You have divine blueprints that nobody else can see. Let me explain what this means. When most people make decisions, they are thinking about right now, maybe next week, maybe next month if they are being strategic. But Capricorns are thinking in years, in decades, in lifetimes. You are not just making decisions for today, you are making decisions for the version of yourself that will exist 5 years from now, 10 years from now. The version of yourself that will look back and either thank you or resent you for the choice you made today. This long-term thinking is what makes you such a powerful planner. And planning, Capricorn, is your spiritual gift. You do not just have a plan. You have a plan B, and a plan C, and a plan Z if necessary. You have thought through every scenario, every possibility, every potential obstacle. Not because you are anxious, not because you are paranoid, but because you are a builder, and builders need blueprints. You cannot build something solid if you do not know what you are building. You cannot create a legacy if you are winging it. You cannot climb a mountain if you have not studied the terrain. So you plan, obsessively, meticulously, in ways that most people would find exhausting, but to you, it is not exhausting. It is essential, because the alternative is chaos. And Capricorns do not thrive in chaos. You create order. You create structure. You create systems that can withstand storms. And here's the key. Those plans, those blueprints, they are private. Most people announce their plans. They post about them. They tell everyone what they are working on, where they are going, what they are building. But not you. You keep your blueprints close, not because you are secretive in a shady way, but because you understand something that most people do not. When you announce your plans too early, you give people the opportunity to sabotage them, consciously or unconsciously. Some people will discourage you because they do not believe in your vision. Some people will steal your ideas because they want the credit. Some people will undermine you because your success makes them uncomfortable with their lack of it. So you learned a long time ago to move in silence,
To build without broadcasting, to execute without explanation.
and this makes you impossible to control. Because you cannot manipulate someone whose next move you cannot predict. People try. They try to corner you. They try to force you into a decision. They try to pressure you into revealing your hand. But you do not flinch. You do not panic. You do not give them the information they are fishing for. Because you already ran this scenario in your mind 3 months ago. You already mapped out what would happen if someone tried to back you into a corner. And you already developed a strategy for it. So while they think they have trapped you, you are 3 moves ahead, calmly executing the backup plan they did not know existed. This is Saturn's gift. Strategic thinking, long-term planning,
The ability to see the board while everyone else is just reacting to the pieces in front of them.
and it is not just practical, it is spiritual. Because those blueprints you are carrying, they were not created by you. They were downloaded from God. Before you were born, your soul agreed to a mission, a calling, an assignment that is uniquely yours. And embedded in that agreement was a map, a blueprint, a divine design for how your life is supposed to unfold. Not in a rigid way, not in a way that eliminates free will, but in a way that creates a current, a flow, a path of least resistance toward your destiny. And Capricorns, you feel that current. You sense that flow. You recognize that path. Not because you are psychic, but because you are in tune with Saturn, with divine timing, with the cosmic order that governs all things.
So when someone tries to pull you off that path, when they try to convince you to abandon the plan, when they try to pressure you into a decision that does not align with the blueprint, something inside you resists. Not out of stubbornness, out of alignment. You can feel that this choice, this detour, this distraction would pull you off course, and you are not willing to risk it. Even if you cannot explain it, even if it does not make logical sense, even if everyone is telling you that you are making a mistake, you trust the blueprint. Because the blueprint has never led you wrong. Every time you followed it, even when it was hard, even when it did not make sense, you ended up exactly where you needed to be. And every time you ignored it, every time you let someone convince you to abandon the plan, you paid for it. In wasted time, in wasted energy, in lessons that could have been avoided if you had just trusted what you knew.
So now you protect the blueprint fiercely. You do not share it with people who have not earned the right to see it. You do not ask for permission to follow it. You do not need validation that it is the right path. You just follow it, one step at a time, one decision at a time, one season at a time. And here is what happens when you do that. When you honor the blueprint, when you trust the divine design, when you move in alignment with the mission you were given, everything starts to click into place. Doors open that you did not know existed. Opportunities appear at exactly the right time. Resources show up when you need them. People enter your life who are perfectly aligned with where you are going. Not because you are lucky,
but because you are obedient. Obedient to the call, obedient to the plan, obedient to the blueprint. And that obedience, that faithfulness to the divine design, it creates a protection around you that nobody can penetrate. Because when God is directing your steps, when Saturn is orchestrating your timing, when the universe is backing your mission, no human scheme can derail you. They can try, and they will try, but every attempt will fail. Every trap will close without catching you. Every scheme will fall apart before it can take root. Because you are not just following a human plan. You are following a divine blueprint. And divine blueprints are unbreakable. So when people try to control you, when they try to pressure you into revealing your plans, when they try to force you into a decision before you are ready, you do not budge.
Not because you are stubborn, but because you are strategic. You are protecting the mission. You are honoring the blueprint. You are staying true to the assignment. And that, Capricorn, is exactly what God needs you to do. Reason 8. They move in silence, while God moves mountains. The 8th reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. You move in silence, while God moves mountains. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of the Capricorn soul. People look at you and think you are not doing anything. They think you are stuck. They think you are playing small. They think you have given up on your dreams. But that could not be further from the truth. You are working. You are building. You are strategizing. You are executing. You are just doing it in silence. While everyone else is posting their progress, announcing their plans,
Broadcasting their every move, you are quietly laying bricks, one by one, day by day, with no audience, no applause, no validation, just you and the mission. And here is why this matters. Silence is power. Silence is protection. Silence is strategy. When you move in silence, you eliminate distraction. You eliminate sabotage. You eliminate the noise of other people's opinions, doubts, and projections. You create a sacred space where the only voices you hear are God's voice and your own intuition. And in that space, miracles happen. Because here is what most people do not understand. Your silence is not inactivity. Your silence is incubation. Just like a seed grows underground before it breaks through the soil, your dreams, your plans, your destiny is being developed in the unseen realm, in the quiet, in the dark, where nobody is watching.
and during that time, you are not trying to convince anyone that something is coming. You are not trying to prove that you are working. You are not trying to defend your process to people who would not understand it anyway. You are just trusting and building and letting God handle the rest. This is why Capricorns are so hard to manipulate, because manipulation requires visibility. It requires knowing what someone is working on so you can undermine it. It requires understanding someone's plans so you can sabotage them. But when you move in silence, when you keep your cards close, when you do not announce your next move, there is nothing to manipulate. There is nothing to sabotage. There is no target for the enemy to aim at. You are a moving target, invisible, protected by the very silence that others mistake for weakness. And while you are working in the dark, God is working in the light. He is opening doors you did not even knock on. He is positioning people you have not even met yet. He is arranging circumstances you could not have orchestrated on your own. All because you stayed silent. All because you did not rush the process. All because you trusted that what is meant for you will find you when the time is right. This is the Capricorn way. Move in silence. Let success make the noise. You do not need to announce when you get the job. The job will speak for itself. You do not need to announce when you pay off the debt. The freedom will speak for itself. You do not need to announce when you leave the toxic relationship. The peace will speak for itself. Your life is the announcement. Your results are the proof. Your transformation is the testimony. And when people finally see it, when they finally realize what you were building while they were doubting, they will be shocked. They will ask, "When did this happen? How did you do this?" And you will smile. Because you know. It happened in the silence. It happened in the seasons when nobody was paying attention. It happened while they were talking and you were working. This silent power also protects you from another common manipulation tactic: premature celebration. People love to celebrate potential. They love to hype you up before you have actually accomplished anything. And while that sounds supportive, it is actually a trap. Because when people celebrate you too early, when they give you praise for something you have not finished yet, it creates a false sense of completion. It tricks your brain into thinking you have already arrived, and that kills your motivation to keep going. Capricorns understand this instinctively. That is why you do not share your wins prematurely. That is why you do not post about the goal until it is achieved. That is why you keep building even after you hit milestones, because you know the work is never truly finished. You are not looking for applause. You are looking for completion, and completion requires silence. Focus. Undivided attention on the mission. So when people try to pressure you into sharing more, into being more visible, into broadcasting your progress, you resist. Not because you are ashamed of what you are building, but because you know that premature exposure can kill a dream. Dreams are fragile in their early stages. They need protection. They need privacy. They need to be nurtured in silence until they are strong enough to withstand public scrutiny. And you are willing to be misunderstood during that process. You are willing to let people think you are doing nothing. You are willing to let them underestimate you. Because you know that their opinion of you is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to the mission, and the mission requires silence. Now, here is the beautiful part. While you are moving in silence, while you are building in the dark, while you are protecting your process from public consumption, God is moving mountains on your behalf. He is removing obstacles you did not even know were in the way. He is closing doors that would have led you to disaster. He is opening doors that will lead you to destiny. And He is doing all of this while you are quiet, while you are faithful, while you are focused on the work instead of the applause. This is the partnership between Capricorn and Saturn, between you and God. You handle the discipline. He handles the orchestration. You handle the execution. He handles the timing. You handle the faithfulness. He handles the favor. And together, you build something that nobody saw coming. Something that defies logic. Something that could only be explained as divine intervention. Because it is. Your success is not self-made. Your achievements are not luck. Your breakthroughs are not coincidence. They are the result of you moving in obedience while God moved mountains. So when people try to control you by demanding visibility, by pressuring you to share before you are ready, by making you feel guilty for being private, you do not fold. You do not explain yourself. You do not defend your process. You do not give them access they have not earned. You just keep moving. In silence, in faith, in alignment with the divine blueprint. And you trust that when the time is right, when the work is complete, when God is ready to reveal what He has been building through you, everyone will see. And their doubt will turn to awe. Their criticism will turn to respect. Their underestimation will turn to recognition. Not because you needed them to see you, but because God decided it was time for them to witness His work. And that, Capricorn, is worth the wait. Reason 9. Their loyalty is sacred, not negotiable. The 9th reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. Your loyalty is sacred, not negotiable. When a Capricorn chooses you, when they let you into their inner circle, when they decide that you are worth their time, their energy, their trust, that decision is not made lightly.
It is a sacred commitment, a bond that goes deeper than friendship, deeper than partnership, deeper even than family. It is a soul contract, and Capricorns do not break soul contracts casually. They do not walk away at the first sign of difficulty. They do not abandon ship when the storm hits. When they commit, they are in, all the way, for the long haul. But here is what people misunderstand about Capricorn loyalty. It is not blind. It is not unconditional in the way most people think of unconditional. Capricorn loyalty is not, "I will stay no matter what you do to me." Capricorn loyalty is, "I will fight for this connection as long as there is mutual respect, honesty, and effort." There is a difference, a massive difference.
Capricorns will show up for you when you are struggling. They will carry you when you cannot carry yourself. They will stand by you when everyone else walks away. They will defend you when you are being attacked. They will believe in you when you have stopped believing in yourself. But they will not tolerate betrayal. They will not tolerate manipulation. They will not tolerate disrespect. And they will not tolerate patterns of behavior that show them they are being taken for granted. Because Capricorns understand something that most people do not. Loyalty is a two-way street. And if they are the only one traveling it, then it is not loyalty. It is codependency. And Capricorns do not do codependency. So when someone tries to use Capricorn loyalty against them, when they try to guilt them into staying in a toxic situation, when they say things like, "If you really cared about me, you would accept this," or "If you were really loyal, you would not have boundaries," the Capricorn sees right through it. Because they know that real loyalty does not ask you to betray yourself. Real loyalty does not demand that you sacrifice your well-being. Real loyalty does not guilt you into accepting abuse. Real loyalty honors you. Real loyalty respects you. Real loyalty shows up with integrity, not just expectation. And if the other person is not bringing that to the table, then they are not loyal. They are just attached. And attachment, Capricorn, is not the same as connection. So you walk away. Not easily, not without pain, but with clarity. Because you know that staying loyal to someone who is disloyal to you is not loyalty. It is self-betrayal.
And you are not here to betray yourself for anyone. This is why Capricorns are so careful about who they let into their inner circle. Because once you are in, they are committed, and that commitment is sacred. So they need to know that you understand the weight of it, that you honor it, that you will protect it the way they protect it. They need to know that you are not just there for the good times, that you are not just using them for what they can provide, that you are not just performing connection until something better comes along. They need to know that you mean it, that your loyalty matches theirs, that you understand what it means to be chosen by a Capricorn. And if you do not understand, if you take it for granted, if you abuse it, they will remove you. Quietly, permanently, without drama, without explanation. Because Capricorns do not need to justify protecting their peace. They do not need to defend removing people who disrespect the bond. They do not need permission to walk away from toxicity. They just do it, and they do not look back. Now, here is the beautiful part about Capricorn loyalty. When it is reciprocated, when it is honored, when it is met with the same level of integrity, it creates a bond that is unbreakable. Capricorns are the people who will show up at 3 a.m. when you call, who will lend you money without asking when you will pay it back, who will defend your name when you are not in the room, who will hold your secrets like sacred texts, who will believe in your dreams even when you have stopped believing. That is the gift of Capricorn loyalty. It is fierce, it is protective, it is unconditional in the sense that it does not require you to be perfect.
It just requires you to be real. And if you are real with a Capricorn, if you show up with honesty, vulnerability, and consistent effort, you have a friend for life, a partner for life, a supporter for life. But if you betray that trust, if you take advantage of that loyalty, if you mistake their patience for weakness, you will lose access. And once a Capricorn closes the door, it is closed. Not because they are unforgiving, but because they have learned that some people do not deserve second chances. Some patterns are too destructive to be repeated. Some betrayals are too deep to be forgotten. And they are not going to keep opening the door to someone who keeps proving they should not have access. This sacred loyalty also shows up in how Capricorns love.
When a Capricorn loves you, they do not just love the version of you that you present to the world. They love the version of you that you hide. The messy parts, the broken parts, the parts you are ashamed of. They see all of you, and they stay. Not because they are naive, not because they do not see the flaws, but because they understand that real love is not about perfection. It is about partnership. It is about showing up. It is about choosing each other even when it is hard. And Capricorns will choose you, again and again, as long as you are choosing them back. But the moment you stop choosing them, the moment you start taking them for granted, the moment you start treating the relationship like it is disposable, they will notice, and they will adjust accordingly. Not with drama, not with confrontation, just with distance, with boundaries, with a quiet pulling back that signals the beginning of the end. And if you do not notice, if you do not course correct, if you keep taking and never giving, one day you will wake up and realize they are gone. Not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. The door is closed. The bond is severed. The loyalty is withdrawn. And no amount of apologies, promises, or grand gestures will bring it back. Because Capricorns do not play games with loyalty. They do not test people. They do not withhold connection to manipulate behavior. They just observe and evaluate. And when the evidence is clear, when the pattern is undeniable, they act swiftly, decisively, permanently. So if you are lucky enough to be loved by a Capricorn, to be chosen by a Capricorn, to be trusted by a Capricorn, do not take it lightly. Honor it, protect it, reciprocate it. Because that loyalty, that sacred bond, is one of the rarest gifts you will ever receive. And once it is gone forever. Reason 10. They have a wall built by Saturn himself. The 10th reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. You have a wall built by Saturn himself. Let me tell you something about Capricorn that most people will never understand. You could be raging inside. You could be heartbroken. You could be disappointed, devastated, questioning everything you thought you knew. And nobody would know. Not because you are pretending, not because you are fake, but because you have mastered something that most people spend their entire lives trying to learn. Emotional sovereignty. You decide when to share your feelings. You decide who gets access to your vulnerability. You decide when the wall comes down and when it stays up. And that decision is yours, nobody else's. This poker face, this emotional control, this ability to remain calm in the storm, it is not something you learned from a book. It is something you developed through necessity. Because Capricorn, you learned early that showing your hand too soon can cost you. You learned that emotional transparency is not always safe. You learned that not everyone who asks how you are doing actually wants to know. Some people are just fishing for ammunition.
So you built a wall, not to keep everyone out, but to keep yourself safe until you know who deserves access. And that wall, Capricorn, it was not built by human hands. It was built by Saturn himself. Saturn is the planet of boundaries, of structure, of divine protection through discipline.
And one of the greatest gifts Saturn gives to Capricorn souls is this: the ability to hold your composure when everyone else is losing theirs. You do not cry on demand. You do not fall apart in public. You do not give people the satisfaction of seeing you break. Not because you never break. You do, in private, in the sanctuary of your own space, in the presence of the very few people who have earned the right to witness your vulnerability. But to the world, to the people who have not proven themselves, to the manipulators, the energy vampires, the people who would use your emotions against you, you are stone, calm, unreadable, untouchable. And this drives manipulators absolutely crazy, because their entire strategy depends on your reaction. They say something to trigger you. They do something to upset you.
They create drama to see how you will respond. But you do not respond. Not in the way they expect. You might pause, you might observe, you might even acknowledge what they said. But emotionally, you are unmoved. You are evaluating. You are analyzing. You are deciding whether this person even deserves a real response. And most of the time, they do not. So you give them nothing. No tears, no anger, no explosion. Just calm acknowledgement followed by distance. And that distance, that emotional withdrawal, it communicates something far more powerful than any argument could. It says, "You do not have access to me anymore. You lost the privilege of my emotional investment, and I am not going to waste energy explaining why." This is the power of the Capricorn wall. It is not about shutting people out. It is about protecting what is sacred.
Your peace, your energy, your emotional well-being. And you know better than most that those things are not renewable resources. You cannot just manufacture more peace after someone steals it from you. You cannot just create more energy after someone drains it. You cannot just rebuild your emotional well-being after someone destroys it. So you protect it, fiercely, unapologetically, without explanation. And the wall, the poker face, the emotional control, that is your first line of defense. Now, let me be very clear about something. This does not mean you are emotionless. It does not mean you are cold. It does not mean you do not feel deeply. You feel everything, Capricorn, sometimes too much. But you have learned that feeling something and showing something are two different things. And showing your feelings to people who have not earned your trust is dangerous. Because people will use your emotions against you. They will use your tears as proof that you are weak. They will use your anger as proof that you are unreasonable. They will use your vulnerability as a weapon to manipulate you into doing what they want. So you keep the wall up. You keep the poker face on. You keep your emotional cards close to your chest until you are sure, until you have evaluated, until you have seen enough consistency, enough integrity, enough proof that this person will not weaponize your humanity against you. And then, and only then, do you let the wall come down. This is why Capricorns are so slow to open up. Not because you do not want connection, but because you understand the cost of connection with the wrong people. It is not worth it. It is not safe. It is not wise. So you wait. You watch. You evaluate. And you only give access to people who have proven over time that they will handle your heart with care.
This emotional control also makes you one of the most powerful people in any crisis situation. Because while everyone else is panicking, reacting, spiraling, you are calm. Not because you do not feel the urgency, but because you know that panic does not solve problems. Emotion does not create solutions. Reactivity does not build stability. Calm does. Focus does. Strategic thinking does. So you take a breath. You assess the situation. You identify the problem. You develop a plan, and you execute, all while maintaining your composure, all while keeping your emotions in check,
All while refusing to let the chaos around you dictate your internal state. This is Saturn's training. This is the discipline of the mountain. This is what it means to be built by divine design, to withstand pressure that would break most people. And people do not understand this about you. They think you do not care. They think you are unaffected. They think you are cold, detached, emotionally unavailable. But that is not true. You care deeply. You are affected. You just refuse to let those feelings control you, because you know that the moment you let emotion drive the car, you lose control. And Capricorns never, ever give up control of their own life. That is the lesson you learned the hard way. Through every betrayal that caught you off guard. Through every time you let someone see your vulnerability and they used it against you. Through every moment you let your feelings override your logic and paid the price. You learned that emotional transparency is a privilege, not a right. And not everyone deserves that privilege. So now you guard it. You protect it. You only share it with people who have proven they will honor it. And the people who have not proven themselves, they get the wall, the poker face, the calm exterior that reveals nothing. And they can judge you for it. They can call you cold. They can say you have walls up. They can accuse you of being emotionally unavailable. But you know the truth. You are not unavailable. You are just discerning. You are not cold. You are just protected. You do not have walls up. You have boundaries in place. And those boundaries were built by Saturn himself to keep you safe from people who would drain you, use you, manipulate you, or break you if you gave them the chance. So you keep the wall up. You keep the poker face on. You keep your emotions private. Until you meet someone who deserves to see what is behind the wall. Someone who has proven, through consistent action over time, that they will not abuse the access you give them. And when you finally let that person in, when you finally let the wall come down, when you finally show them the real you, the vulnerable you, the emotional you, it is one of the most sacred gifts you can give. Because they earned it. They waited for it. They proved they deserved it. And that makes it precious, rare, valuable beyond measure. That is the power of the Capricorn wall. It does not keep love out. It keeps destruction out. And it ensures that when you do open your heart, you are opening it to someone who will treasure it, not someone who will weaponize it. So let them call you guarded. Let them say you have walls. Let them accuse you of being hard to get to know. Because the truth is, you are hard to get to know. Intentionally, by design, as protection. And the people who are willing to do the work, to prove themselves, to earn your trust over time, those are the people who deserve to know you. Everyone else gets the wall. And the wall, Capricorn, is exactly where they belong. Before we continue, I need to see something from the Capricorn army right now. If this message is hitting your soul, if you are feeling seen in ways you have never been seen before, if you are finally understanding why you move the way you move, I need you to activate your power in the comments. Type this declaration. I am Capricorn. God built my walls to protect my peace.
Nobody breaks what Saturn built. This is not just a comment. This is a spiritual activation. This is you declaring that your boundaries are sacred, that your emotional protection is divinely ordained, that the walls you have built are not something to be ashamed of. They are something to be honored. Second, if you have not already, drop your birth date and birth country in the comments. Day, month, year, and the country you were born in. I'm tracking a massive spiritual shift happening across Capricorn souls worldwide right now, and your birth information tells me exactly where you are in your divine timeline. Third, subscribe to Blessed Zodiac right now if you have not already. This is not just another astrology channel.
This is a sanctuary for Capricorns who have spent their entire lives being misunderstood. This is where you come to be validated, to be seen, to be reminded of who you really are when the world tries to convince you that your strength is a problem. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, because we are only getting deeper from here. And fourth, like this video if it is speaking to your soul. That one click helps this message reach more Capricorns who need to hear it, who need to know they are not alone, who need to understand that their way of moving through the world is not wrong, it is divine. Do not skip these steps. Your participation activates the energy of this message in your life. When thousands of Capricorns declare their power together, we create a frequency that the universe cannot ignore. Now, let's continue, because we are about to talk about something that separates Capricorns from everyone else. The ability to turn every betrayal, every failure, every painful lesson into wisdom that makes you unbreakable. Let's go. Reason 11. Every betrayal made them wiser, not weaker. The 11th reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. Every betrayal made you wiser, not weaker. Capricorn, let me ask you something. How many times have people tried to break you? How many times have you been betrayed by someone you trusted? How many times have you been let down by someone who promised they would show up? How many times have you given your energy, your time, your heart to someone who did not deserve it? And how many times were you supposed to be destroyed by that? How many times were you supposed to give up, become bitter, close your heart forever? But you did not. Instead, you did something that most people are incapable of doing. You learned from it. You took the pain and turned it into data. You took the betrayal and turned it into boundaries. You took the disappointment and turned it into discernment. You did not let it make you weaker. You let it make you wiser. This is the Capricorn superpower, the ability to metabolize pain into power, to transform wounds into wisdom, to turn every scar into structure. Most people, when they get hurt, they become victims of their pain. They let it define them. They let it control them. They let it turn them into bitter, cynical, closed-off versions of themselves. But not you. You feel the pain. You acknowledge it. You process it. And then you extract the lesson. What did this teach me? What did I miss? What pattern was I ignoring? What boundary did I not set? What red flag did I overlook? You do not waste the pain. You use it. You turn it into a case study. You add it to your internal database of human behavior. And you make damn sure you never fall for the same trap twice. This is why Capricorns get stronger with age. This is why you become more unshakable every year. Because every experience, every betrayal, every disappointment, it is not breaking you. It is building you. It is adding another layer of protection, another level of discernment, another degree of wisdom that makes you almost impossible to fool. Let me give you an example. Maybe someone betrayed your trust.
Maybe they told your secrets. Maybe they used your vulnerability against you. Maybe they pretended to be your friend while secretly undermining you. And it hurt. God, it hurt.
But instead of just sitting in the hurt, instead of just crying about how unfair it was, you did something else. You studied it. You went back through the relationship in your mind. You identified the signs you missed, the inconsistencies in their behavior, the times their actions did not match their words, the moments your intuition tried to warn you, but you ignored it. And you logged all of that. You added it to your pattern recognition system, so that the next time you encounter someone with similar energy, you will catch it faster. You will see it sooner. You will protect yourself before the betrayal even has a chance to happen. This is not cynicism. This is wisdom. This is what it means to learn from experience instead of just being traumatized by it. And this ability, this pattern recognition, this collection of data from every painful experience, it makes you almost impossible to manipulate. Because manipulators rely on people being naive, on people giving the benefit of the doubt, on people ignoring red flags because they want to believe in the best. But you do not ignore red flags anymore. You cannot, even if you want to. Because once you see the pattern, once you recognize the signs, once you know what this type of energy looks like, you cannot unsee it. Your soul will not let you. Saturn will not let you. God will not let you. Because you have already paid the price for that lesson once. And God does not waste pain. He transforms it. He uses it to make you wiser, stronger, more discerning, so that you do not have to learn the same lesson again. This is divine education. This is Saturn's curriculum. This is what it means to be a soul that is being trained for greatness. Because greatness requires wisdom, and wisdom is not learned in classrooms. It is learned in trials, in betrayals, in moments where you have to decide whether this pain will destroy you or refine you. And every single time, Capricorn, you choose refinement. Not because it is easy, not because you enjoy the pain, but because you refuse to let anyone or anything break you permanently. You refuse to let someone else's betrayal turn you into a bitter, closed-off person who can never trust again. Instead, you become a discerning person who knows how to trust the right people, who knows how to identify integrity, who knows how to separate the real from the fake. And that discernment, that wisdom, that pattern recognition, it is your shield, your armor, your protection. Nobody can fool you twice. Nobody can play the same game with you that they played before. Nobody can manipulate you the way they manipulated you in the past. Because you are not the same person you were back then. Every experience has upgraded you. Every betrayal has sharpened you. Every disappointment has made you more selective about who gets access to your time, your energy, your trust. This is why Capricorns become more powerful with age, because you do not just survive your experiences. You integrate them. You learn from them. You become a wiser, stronger, more formidable version of yourself with every passing year. And people can feel it. They can sense that you are not someone to be trifled with. They can tell that you have been through things, that you have learned things, that you are not naive, that you are not easy to fool. And that energy, that wisdom, that quiet knowing, it repels manipulators. Because they can sense that you see through them, that you recognize their tactics, that you are not going to fall for their games. So they move on. They find easier targets. They go looking for someone who has not yet learned the lessons you have learned. And you let them go. Because you know that protecting yourself is more important than giving everyone a chance. You know that discernment is not meanness. You know that saying no to the wrong people
is how you create space for the right people. This wisdom also shows up in how you make decisions. You do not make the same mistakes twice. Not because you are perfect, but because you pay attention. You learn. You adjust. If a certain type of person betrayed you, you do not date that type again. If a certain business decision cost you money, you do not make that decision again. If a certain pattern led to pain, you do not repeat that pattern. You course correct. You adapt. You evolve. This is Saturn's gift. The ability to learn from consequences. The ability to let pain teach you instead of just traumatize you. The ability to turn every failure into a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block. And this makes you unstoppable. Because you are not making the same mistakes everyone else is making. You are not falling into the same traps. You are not getting fooled by the same lies. You have already been there. You have already paid that tuition. And you got your degree, your PhD in human behavior, your master's in pattern recognition, your doctorate in discernment. And now you move through life with a clarity that most people will never have. Because most people do not learn from their pain. They just repeat it, over and over, with different faces but the same story. But not you, Capricorn. You learn, you grow, you evolve, and you become more unshakable with every lesson. So when people try to control you with tactics that have worked on you before, they are shocked when those tactics no longer work. They are confused when you do not fall for the same manipulation. They cannot understand why you are suddenly so hard to get to. But you know why. Because you learned. You wised up. You evolved. And you are not going back to the person you were before the lesson. Every betrayal made you wiser. Every disappointment made you stronger. Every painful experience added another layer to your armor. And now you are almost impossible to break, because you have already been broken. And you rebuilt yourself with stronger materials. Materials that cannot be shattered, cannot be manipulated, cannot be controlled. Because you are not built by human hands anymore, Capricorn. You are built by divine wisdom, forged by sacred fire, refined by holy trials. And what God has refined, man cannot destroy. Reason 12. They're building legacies, not chasing trends. The 12th reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. You are building legacies, not chasing trends. While the world is obsessed with what is hot right now, with what is viral this week, with what is trending today, you are thinking about what will still matter in 10 years, in 20 years, in 100 years. You are not here to be famous for a moment. You're here to build something that outlasts you. This is the Capricorn vision, the long view, the eternal perspective. The understanding that real success is not measured in likes or followers or momentary attention. It is measured in impact, in legacy, in the difference you make that continues long after you are gone. And this vision, this commitment to building something that lasts, it makes you immune to the manipulation tactics that work on everyone else. Because most people can be controlled through their desire for quick wins, for instant gratification, for the dopamine hit of immediate validation. But you do not operate like that. You do not make decisions based on what feels good right now. You make decisions based on what will still be standing decades from now. This long-term thinking is deeply embedded in the Capricorn soul. Even when you were young, even when you did not have the language for it, you felt it. That pull toward building something permanent. That resistance to anything temporary, flashy, or shallow. You were never interested in being the most popular. You were interested in being the most respected. You were never interested in having the most attention. You were interested in having the most impact. And that is not something that can be achieved overnight. That is not something that can be purchased with shortcuts. That is not something that can be faked with performance. Legacy requires time. It requires consistency. It requires discipline. It requires staying committed to the vision even when nobody is watching, even when nobody is applauding, even when it would be easier to quit and chase something that would give you faster results. But you do not quit, because you are not building for today, you are building for forever. This is why Capricorns do not follow trends, not because you are out of touch, not because you do not understand culture, but because you understand something deeper. Trends fade, legacy lasts. And you are not interested in building your life on something that will be irrelevant in 6 months. You are interested in building something so solid, so valuable, so meaningful, that it will still be relevant a century from now. This makes you incredibly selective about where you invest your time, your energy, your resources. Because you know that everything you do is either building toward the legacy or distracting from it. So when someone tries to pressure you into jumping on a trend, into doing what everyone else is doing,
into following the crowd just to be part of the moment, you resist. Not because you are being difficult, but because you are being faithful to the mission, to the vision, to the legacy you are building. And that faithfulness, that commitment, that refusal to be swayed by what is popular right now, it protects you from making decisions you would regret later. Because here is what most people do not understand. The decisions you make today are creating the legacy you will leave tomorrow. Every choice matters. Every action counts. Every moment you spend is either building towards something eternal or wasting time on something temporary. And Capricorns, you do not waste time. You do not have time to waste, because you know that life is short and legacy is long. And if you are going to spend your limited time on this earth building something, it better be something that matters.
This is why Capricorns are so disciplined, so focused, so committed to the grind even when it is not glamorous. Because you know that legacy is not built in a day. It is built in 1,000 days, 1,000 small choices, 1,000 moments when you chose discipline over distraction, progress over pleasure, the long-term goal over the short-term gratification. And you are willing to make those choices, again and again, day after day, year after year. Not because you are a workaholic, not because you do not know how to have fun, but because you understand that real success, lasting success, meaningful success, requires sacrifice. It requires saying no to the things that everyone else is saying yes to. It requires working when everyone else is playing.
It requires building when everyone else is consuming.
And you are willing to do that, because you know that the payoff, the real payoff, does not come immediately. It comes later, when the trends have faded, when the hype has died down, when everyone who was chasing the quick win has moved on to the next thing. That is when your work will still be standing. That is when your legacy will still be relevant. That is when people will look back and say, they built something real, something that lasted, something that mattered. And that, Capricorn, is what you live for. Not the applause, not the recognition, not the momentary validation. The knowing, the deep, soul-level knowing that you did not waste your life, that you built something meaningful, that you left the world better than you found it. This legacy mindset also shows up in how you approach relationships. You are not interested in casual connections, in surface-level friendships, in relationships that serve a temporary purpose. You are looking for people who are building, too, who understand the vision, who are committed to something bigger than themselves. You are looking for partnerships, not passengers. For people who will build with you, not people who will just consume what you create. And when you find those people, when you find someone who matches your commitment to excellence, your dedication to legacy, your refusal to settle for anything less than extraordinary, you hold on to them. Because those relationships are rare. Those connections are sacred. Those partnerships are the foundation of legacy. You cannot build an empire alone.
You cannot create lasting impact by yourself. You need people who understand the vision, who share the commitment, who are willing to do the work. And Capricorns, you are very selective about who those people are, because you know that the wrong people will derail the mission. The wrong partnerships will compromise the vision. The wrong connections will waste time you cannot get back. So you wait, you watch, you evaluate, and you only partner with people who have proven that they are serious, that they are committed, that they are building legacies too. This is also why Capricorns are not impressed by flash, by hype, by people who talk big but have nothing to show for it. You want to see the work. You want to see the results. You want to see proof that this person is not just performing success. They are living it.
Because you know that real legacy builders do not need to announce what they are doing. Their work announces itself. Their results speak. Their impact is visible without being advertised. And that is the standard you hold for yourself and for everyone you allow into your circle. So when people try to control you by dangling trends in front of you, by pressuring you to follow the crowd, by making you feel like you are missing out by not doing what everyone else is doing, you are unmoved. Because you are not measuring success by what is popular. You are measuring success by what is permanent. And what is permanent, what truly lasts, is never built by following the crowd. It is built by having the courage to stand alone, to do the work when nobody is watching, to stay committed when everyone else has moved on. That is legacy, and that is what you are building. So let them chase trends. Let them hop from one thing to the next. Let them build on sand, because it is easier than building on rock. You will keep building on rock. Slowly, steadily, with discipline and vision and unwavering commitment. And when the storms come, when the trends fade, when the hype dies down, your work will still be standing. Because you did not build it for today. You built it for eternity. And what is built for eternity cannot be controlled by the chaos of the moment. Reason 13. God saw them try to break you, and he said, "Not this one." The 13th and final reason nobody can control a Capricorn is this. God saw them try to break you, and he said, "Not this one." Capricorn, let me take you back through your life for a moment. Think about everything you have survived, every attack, every betrayal, every moment someone tried to destroy you, humiliate you, break you down until you gave up. Think about the people who underestimated you, who doubted you, who said you would never make it, who told you that you were not good enough, smart enough, strong enough. Think about the situations that should have destroyed you, the loss that should have broken you, the rejection that should have made you give up, the betrayal that should have turned you bitter and cynical forever. Now think about where you are today, still standing, still building, still here. And ask yourself, how? How did you survive all of that? How did you make it through seasons that were designed to destroy you? How did you come out on the other side not just alive, but stronger? The answer is simple. God covered you. Every attack that was aimed at your heart, God redirected it. Every trap that was set to catch you, God dismantled it before you stepped in. Every scheme that was designed to derail your destiny, God exposed it before it could take root. Not because you are lucky, not because you are special in a way that makes you better than others, but because God has an assignment for your life, and He will not let anyone or anything stop you from fulfilling it. This is the ultimate reason nobody can control a Capricorn. Because you are not just protected by human wisdom, by emotional intelligence, by strategic thinking. You are protected by divine intervention. God saw them try to break you, and He said, "Not this one." Let me tell you something about the Capricorn calling. You were not born into an easy life.
Saturn does not choose easy souls for easy assignments. You were born into difficulty, into responsibility, into situations that forced you to grow up faster than you should have. And that was not an accident. That was preparation. Because God knew what He was calling you to build. He knew the weight you would have to carry. He knew the attacks you would face. He knew the enemies who would come against you. So He prepared you, from birth, by making sure that nothing in your life came easy, by making sure you learned discipline early, by making sure you developed the strength, the wisdom, the endurance that you would need to survive what was coming. And then, throughout your life, every time someone tried to stop you, God stepped in. Think about it. How many times should you have lost everything, but somehow you did not?
How many times should that betrayal have destroyed your reputation, but somehow it did not stick? How many times should that loss have bankrupted you, but somehow you made it through? That was not luck, Capricorn. That was God. He was covering you, protecting you, fighting battles on your behalf that you did not even know were happening. While you were sleeping, He was dismantling schemes. While you were working, He was closing doors that would have led you to destruction. While you were grieving, He was positioning you for a comeback that nobody saw coming. Because God does not waste the pain He allows in your life. He does not let you go through trials just for fun. He allows the fire because He is refining you. He allows the pressure because He is creating a diamond. He allows the attack because He is preparing you for the victory.
And every time someone tried to break you, every time they thought they had you cornered, every time they believed they had finally found your weakness, God said, "Not this one. This one is mine. This one is protected. This one is covered." And their attack failed, not because you were strong enough to stop it, but because God was strong enough to redirect it. This is the divine protection over the Capricorn's soul. It is not just psychological, it is not just emotional. It is spiritual. It is supernatural. It is the hand of God covering you in ways you cannot see, but can absolutely feel. Think about the times you should have made a terrible decision, but something stopped you. The times you were about to trust the wrong person, but your intuition screamed at you to wait. The times you were about to say yes to the wrong opportunity, but something in your spirit said no. That was God, warning you, protecting you, keeping you from walking into traps that would have derailed your destiny. And think about the times you did walk into the trap. You did trust the wrong person. You did make the wrong decision. But somehow, miraculously, you still made it out. You still survived. You still recovered. That was God, too. Covering you even in your mistakes, protecting you
even when you did not protect yourself. Fighting for you, even when you felt like you were fighting alone. Because you were never alone, Capricorn, not for a single moment. Every time you cried yourself to sleep thinking nobody cared, God was there. Every time you carried a burden so heavy you thought it would crush you, God was there.
Every time you wanted to give up but somehow found the strength to take one more step, that strength was not coming from you. It was coming from Him. This is what people do not understand about Capricorns. They look at you and think you are just naturally strong, naturally disciplined, naturally able to handle anything. But you know the truth. You are not strong on your own. You are strong because you are covered. You are not disciplined on your own. You are disciplined because God gave you the grace to keep going when your flesh wanted to quit. Every ounce of strength you have is borrowed from Him. Every moment of endurance is sustained by Him. Every victory is orchestrated by Him. And that is why nobody can break you. Because they are not just fighting you, they are fighting God. And nobody wins that battle.
The Bible talks about people who are touched by fire, but not burned. People who walk through the valley of the shadow of death and fear no evil. People who are struck down, but not destroyed. That is you, Capricorn. You have been through the fire. You have walked through valleys. You have been struck down. But you are still here, still standing, still building. Because God said, not this one. And when God says that, when He puts His hand of protection over a life, there is nothing anyone can do to change it. They can plot, they can scheme, they can attack, but every arrow aimed at you will miss. Every trap set for you will malfunction. Every plan designed to destroy you will backfire. Not because you are invincible, but because you are covered. This divine protection is also why you have such strong intuition.
Why you sense danger before it fully reveals itself. Why you know when someone is lying, even when their words sound convincing. That is not just pattern recognition. That is the Holy Spirit, warning you, guiding you, showing you things in the spiritual realm that you cannot see in the natural. And when you listen to that voice, when you honor that intuition, when you trust that inner knowing, you avoid disasters that would have destroyed you. But even when you do not listen, even when you ignore the warnings, God still covers you. He still protects you. He still makes sure that the consequences do not destroy you. They refine you. Because that is what God does with Capricorn souls. He does not coddle you. He does not make life easy. But He makes sure that every trial you go through serves a purpose. That every attack makes you stronger. That every betrayal makes you wiser. That every loss positions you for a greater gain. This is the divine strategy. This is God using your enemies to promote you, using the attacks to sharpen you, using the pain to prepare you for a level of success that requires someone who has been through what you have been through. Because easy lives create weak people. And God did not call you to be weak. He called you to be a warrior, a builder, a leader, someone who can carry weight that would crush most people. And He knew that creating someone like that requires fire, requires pressure, requires trials that force you to choose between breaking or becoming. And every single time, Capricorn, you chose becoming. Not because you were strong enough, but because God was strong enough. In you, through you, for you. So when people look at your life and wonder how you survived all of that, how you made it through, how you are still standing after everything you have been through, you can tell them, I survived because God would not let me die. I made it through because God carried me when I could not walk. I am still standing
Because God said, "Not this one. This one is mine. This one is protected. This one is covered." And that covering, that protection, that divine intervention, it is not something you earned. It is something you were given. By grace, by assignment, by divine selection. You were chosen for this. Not because you are perfect, but because you are faithful. Because you keep showing up. Because you keep building even when you are exhausted. Because you keep trusting even when you have been betrayed. And God honors that. He sees that.
And He fights for people who keep fighting, even when the odds are against them. So the next time someone comes at you, the next time someone tries to control you, manipulate you, break you, remember this. They are not just fighting you. They are fighting God. And that is a battle they cannot win. God saw them try to break you, and He said, "Not this one." And He meant it. You are still standing because God would not let you fall. Capricorn, we have walked through 13 reasons why nobody can control you. But this is not just a list of traits. This is a testimony. This is proof of divine design. This is evidence that you were built differently because you were built for something different. Let me recap what we have covered because I want you to carry this with you. I want you to remember this the next time someone tries to make you feel like your strength is a problem. The next time someone tries to guilt you for having boundaries. The next time someone calls you cold because you refuse to let them manipulate you. Reason 1. God gave you a spine that others cannot bend. You were built with divine integrity, with a backbone that was forged by Saturn himself, and no amount of pressure, no amount of guilt, no amount of manipulation can make you betray who you are. Reason 2. You answer to heaven's voice, not human pressure. You do not make decisions based on emotion. You make decisions based on alignment, with your values, with your purpose, with God. Reason 3. You were born with ancient wisdom in your soul. You are an old soul. You have been here before. You recognize patterns. You see manipulation coming. You have learned lessons across lifetimes that protect you in this one. Reason 4. Your mission is written in the stars, not in someone's opinion. You are here to build something that matters, something that lasts, something that changes the trajectory of generations, and that mission is non-negotiable. Reason 5. You do not need human validation because God already approved you. Your worth is not determined by recognition. Your value is not dependent on applause. You are already seen, already valued, already approved by the only one who matters. Reason 6. You trust what people do, not what they promise. You do not fall for words. You do not believe potential. You evaluate based on consistency, on action, on proof. And you do not give your trust to people who have not earned it. Reason 7. You have divine blueprints that nobody else can see. You are a planner, a strategist, a builder. You think in decades, not days. And those plans, those blueprints, they were downloaded from God. They are protected, they are sacred, and nobody gets access until they have proven themselves. Reason 8. You move in silence while God moves mountains. You do not announce your plans. You do not broadcast your progress. You do not need an audience to validate your work. You just build, quietly, faithfully, while God orchestrates everything behind the scenes. Reason 9. Your loyalty is sacred, not negotiable. When you commit, you are all in. But your loyalty is not blind. It is earned. It is reciprocal. And the moment someone betrays it, the door closes. Quietly. Permanently. Without explanation. Reason 10. You have a wall built by Saturn himself. You have mastered emotional sovereignty. You decide when to share your feelings. You decide who gets access. You decide when the wall comes down. And that decision is yours alone. Reason 11. Every betrayal made you wiser, not weaker. You do not just survive your pain, you learn from it. You turn betrayal into boundaries, disappointment into discernment. Every scar becomes structure. Every wound becomes wisdom. Reason 12. You are building legacies, not chasing trends. You are not here for momentary attention. You are here to create something that outlasts you, that matters decades from now, that changes the world in ways that cannot be measured in likes or followers. Reason 13. God saw them try to break you, and he said, "Not this one." Every attack aimed at you was redirected by God. Every trap set for you was dismantled by God. Every scheme designed to destroy you was exposed by God, because you are covered, protected, chosen. This is who you are, Capricorn. This is what you carry. This is why nobody can control you. Not because you are perfect, not because you never make mistakes, not because you are invincible, but because you are protected by something bigger than yourself, by divine design, by Saturn's discipline, by God's grace. And that protection, that covering, that divine intervention, it has kept you standing when you should have fallen. It has kept you building when you should have quit. It has kept you faithful when you had every reason to become bitter. So, as we close this message, I want you to do something for me. I want you to take a moment and thank God for the battles he fought on your behalf, for the doors he closed that would have led to destruction, for the people he removed before they could cause more damage, for the strength he gave you when you had none of your own. Thank him for seeing you, for covering you, for saying, "Not this one," every single time someone tried to break you. And then I want you to make a declaration, out loud, where you can hear yourself say it. Say this: I am Capricorn. God saw them try to break me. I am still standing, not because I am strong enough on my own, but because God would not let me fall. I am protected. I am covered. I am chosen. And nobody, not one single person, will ever control me again. Because I do not answer to humans. I answer to heaven. And heaven says, I am unbreakable. Amen. Now, here is what I need you to do before you leave this video. First, go to the comments right now and type, "I am Capricorn. God saw them try to break me. I am still standing." This is not just a comment. This is a declaration. This is you speaking your truth into existence. This is you activating the energy of divine protection over your life. Second, drop your birth date and the country you were born in. Day, month, year, and country. This is how I track the spiritual shift happening across Capricorn souls worldwide. Third, if you have not subscribed to Blessed Zodiac yet, do it right now. This is not just another astrology channel. This is a sanctuary for Capricorns who have spent their entire lives being misunderstood.
This is where you come to be validated, to be seen, to be reminded that your strength is not a problem. It is a gift. Fourth, like this video.
That one click helps this message reach more Capricorns who need to hear it, who need to know they are not alone, who need to understand that the way they move through the world is not wrong. It is divine. Fifth, share this video with another Capricorn. Text it to them, send it to them, because I promise you, they need to hear this message too. They need to be reminded that they are covered, that they are protected, that God saw them try to break them too, and He said, "Not this one." And if you want to support this work, if this message has changed something in you, if you believe in what we are building here, click the Super Thanks button below this video. Every bit of support helps us continue creating content that actually matters, that actually sees you, that actually tells the truth about who you are when the world is lying to you. Capricorn, you are not alone. You are not misunderstood. You are not too much. You are exactly who God designed you to be, and that design is unbreakable. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me speak truth into your soul. Thank you for being the kind of person who does not break even when everything around you is trying to make you. You are covered. You are protected. You are chosen. And God saw them try to break you, and He said, "Not this one." I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep building, keep standing, keep trusting, because your story is not over. Your legacy is still being written, and the best is yet to come. God bless you, Capricorn. You are stronger than you know.